Adam.
So how are you? All right. So you wanted to talk about today. You wanted to talk about how emotions are our superpower, and
Mhm.
how in the past emotions, especially for empaths, especially for light workers and light warriors, we always allowed our emotions get the best of us because we didn't really know what they were. We didn't even know if they were ours or not. And so we just assumed and we took everything as if it was our fault, if this is how we're feeling. And what I've come to realize over the last 3 months specifically is that most of the time I'm in alignment with myself. And if I start getting all hibbly bibbly about stuff, it's because I'm actually absorbing the energy of what's happening in that place that I'm at, or I'm transmuting something from my past also for the collective. You were really intrigued by this idea of emotions being our superpowers, and you made us stop our conversation mid phone call to jump right on. So talk about why emotions in that moment resonated with you so much, and what you've been going through. I'd say even the beginning of this year with your own emotions and what that's kind of done for you.
So, one of the things about emotions that's really critical is realizing that it is the tool that you can use to verify whether you're synchronized or not. Depending on your emotions, there is a scale that kind of uh, goes hand in hand with how high or low. No emotion is good or bad, it's just a vibrational. Being self aware of what emotion you are at that moment will help you guide you as to your next logical step. You know, are you in this now moment? Are you in the past having a thought process that is still mingling with you? Asking yourself those questions. Most of the time, I'm pretty leveled. And so when I'm out of my form, I don't realize it till after the event has transpired. So, for example, the other day, I call it having a meltdown. I'm in the midst of people, and I went in feeling fine, but then I have an outburst of emotions that I not necessarily attributed to me. Like, what is that all about? I'll find out afterwards, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I must be sifting the collective, and that's okay. I lended myself to that, so I can be quickly self-aware of that moment in time. What I wanted to approach now is in helping others understand that there is a moment when they feel like, oh my gosh, I just had a meltdown. Like, what the heck was that all about? Or why did I come off at that person in that manner? Or why did I even take that little thing that happened to such an explosive moment? So that's why emotions are important to me. There's a lot of empathic people who I think at this present moment are going through those sifting of emotions for the collective, and it is needful. I tell others, if I don't blend myself to that, then the vibrations in the entire globe are very explosive. So I allow the universe to sift it through me so that it can be grounded, so that things can be more at peace.
I agree with
And
that.
it actually helps others level up.
And I agree with that 100%. What I've also been realizing about my emotions lately is how if you can, we, at least for me, and you and I are very similar. So I'm just going to go off of this idea that empathic people generally kind of are feeling and kind of going through the same thing right now, where um, if I start to feel bad about my emotions, I get judgy, I get opinionated, I start setting expectations, I start going, nah, and this is that, and this is blah, and this is blah, instead of just going, this is how I'm feeling right now. I know this isn't me because 3 seconds ago I wasn't feeling this. And
Correct.
and then starting to see that if we can stay centered in our seat of self, no matter how we're feeling, and allow that emotion to give us the sensory information we need to make the best choices, to say the best things, to make the best moves in that now moment. Who's to say that they really aren't our superpowers now? Because I've realized, because I am an emotional being, because I do speak from my heart, because I am authentic and I use integrity. When I ask somebody for help, they give it to me. When I can receive somebody who's coming at me twisted with love, they calm down and they start actually, talking to me about what's really going on in their life. I haven't been the best at that. I still get triggered. I get triggered about the masks. I get triggered about social distancing. It drives me up a wall, But then I ask myself, how is this happening for me? And it's because the universe and God is trying to get me to understand that I control my emotions. My emotions don't control me. And once we learn how to harness them, that is when it unlocks everything. So talk about a time in your life where you let the emotions get the best of you and you didn't get the outcome you wanted, and then you used emotions to your benefit and you got the outcome you wanted while also helping everybody in the process.
Wow. I don't think I could come up with one right this because this happens to me so often. It's a daily thing almost.
But to tell the Walgreens story about was it Walgreens or it was ever that story you told me on the phone before we jumped on, where you were literally handing people pieces of paper to
Oh, that
call.
was at the post office. So that was at the post office. And I think the feeling there that because it's almost like projecting, I'm projecting other people's feelings. Some people say, oh, well, you're projecting your emotions on other people. I didn't go in there with any other reason than to open my PO box, which led to me finding some information that I needed to be clarified. And then I walk in there, there's a line of people just standing like it doesn't matter. To me, the moment was like, wow, people are just so easily being entrained now to just be passive. And so I wanted to bring them without realizing what I was doing. I was just upset that service wasn't being handed properly. The people at the post office that should be bringing others, because there's 20 people in line now, and everybody's out the door because it's COVID and nobody can be 6 feet. And nobody's getting the service that they deserve and that it should be given to them. It's not even about deserving, it's like it's a service. So I proceeded in questioning people and demanding that they move into action by letting them know how I was feeling at the moment, and also by writing down the information and passing it out to people. Say, here, you need to call them, you need to call the postmaster, you need to call the
Seriously,
postmaster.
no, because but that's the acquiescence in our culture is why we
Calling
are where
people
we
to
are.
action.
You know, the acquiescence in our culture is why we are where we are. And it's very important for people like us who are emotional and who don't keep our mouths shut and who stand in our lion and speak our truth to continue to do this. So I got an idea off of that. Explain to people how the universe and God uses us as catalysts, like with you and with me. I was told to put on a mask at a store, which I've been going to for 6 months without wearing a mask. And all of a sudden, Joe Biden's elected and they get one complaint. And now all of a sudden I'm chopped liver. They start treating me like a third class citizen and acting like as if, and the woman that worked at the cash register the week before literally told us, we love when you come in because you guys are like the highlight of our day. You have so much love and light and we really appreciate you. And then the next week they're telling us to put on a mask and won't even look us in the eye. And there's that fear. You start messing with people's bank accounts. All of a sudden their spirit goes away. They go into their ego. And what the universe did was I couldn't take it. I got triggered and I just started making a scene by speaking facts, speaking truth, telling people that you're lying to me about why you want me to wear a mask, and there was 30 or 40 people there. Was I comfortable? No. Was I happy making a scene? No. But that's just who I am. And I couldn't help it at that time. And I spent all day beating myself
Right.
up about it. But what ended up happening was it was the universe and God using me to light fires up underneath other people's butts.
Correct.
And
Correct. Well,
so
this
that's
is the
exactly what you
thing.
were doing.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. So, you're not being, I call it being explosive because it just bursts out. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to do this. I'm just going as it goes, and it just happens. So, are you cursing people out? Are you being belligerent to people? Are you attacking people? That is where you are like, okay, things are not balanced. This is a me situation. But with what you're doing, what I feel what you and I possibly could be doing is tapping into a vibration. We're connecting, we're plugging in. But because you and I have found our voice, it will come forth. We no longer repress it. We are saying, this is how I feel. I am going to speak how I feel. And I'm no longer concerned whether you approve of not of that. I'm not attacking. I wasn't attacking anyone personally. I understood that it was a system. I understood that it was a matrix. After a couple of minutes of coming back into myself, because it's like someone else jumps in, coming into myself, then I'm like, wow, that was really out of character. So I went, I thanked everyone. I apologized to the young lady who was the one who I was confrontational with because, I didn't need to move away and leave her feeling some type of way. So I kind of allowed for things and love and compassion to come forth again, yet speaking my truth, because it was that not only my truth, it is the truth of everybody else who was there, but no one wanted to say anything because people now feel like they don't have a voice, because then they're going to be targeted if they do have a voice. And that's only for the sole purpose of whatever it is that the universe wants to do at that minute with that what transpires. What people take out of that, I have no idea, and it's up to the universe to deal with that. You understand? It's not like I threw a grenade and everything was no, it was just a situational, and everything gets utilized. Nothing gets wasted by the universe. So my message to those of us who happen to tap into those flows is be easy with yourself, because sometimes then we come back and we're like, oh my gosh, I think I've lost my alignment. I don't think I'm in agreement with the universe anymore, and I need to go be a hermit. I go inward. No, it's nothing like that. Chill. It's really just you are a vessel right now. You're not a tool, because tool sounds too manipulative. You're a vessel, and you have agreed to this. And if you have not been aware of it, then this conversation is to help others become aware that possibly they could be tapping into a vibration,
I
which is useful for the collective.
Yes, exactly. And here's the thing about with that, I'm listening to you speak, and I'm going through my scenario. I'm thinking about your scenario. I'm thinking about other people as the catalysts in a lot of these situations when we don't want to be, but that's what we signed up to be, because that's why we're awakened at this time, and that's why we're chasing our spirits, is because the way of the 3D isn't for us anymore. The just normal human life isn't enough for us anymore. Therefore, we have to become human beings, and in order to figure out our beingness, we need to go through trial by fire sometimes. And here's the other thing: when you leave your home, when you start putting on clothes because you care about what people think, you put on your makeup, you drive your nice car, you go to your store, you're playing in the matrix. And therefore you need to play a different role. My thing is I'm trying to be as authentic me as possible. And the
Mm-hmm.
matrix chews up authenticity and it spits you out because
Right,
it just wants to take. It doesn't want to give reciprocatedly. And
right,
so what I'm realizing is be prepared to get emotional when you go out into the matrix. Be prepared to receive people who are going to be might be crazy, to receive um, it, a lack of justice, a lack of kindness, a lack of unity. I think a lot of times we spend so much time in that hermit mode, and that when we go back into the matrix, we're like, what is going on? Nothing's actually going on that's much different. We're just so used to all this love, light, and comfort zone, our emotional comfort zone, that when we're thrown into the fire of heightened emotions, heightened feelings, absorbing other people's stuff because we don't know what it is. Where our decay really comes from is our own self judgment of everything that's going on. Because we're not this body, we're the observer and we're in charge of this body. The body is the one receiving the information, the mind's the one making sense of it, and we're the one making choices based off of all of it. And so I think detaching from our emotions and feelings is a key to truly being able to just be in those types of situations and be the catalyst without actually having to give any of your energy away, just by being the light, by being the beacon, without having to say anything, without having to do anything. You are literally increasing the vibration and frequency of everyone around you, and you are doing your job. But it's when we want to start to do more, we need to be the crusader, we need to save the world, we need to change people, we need to heal everyone. In reality, we need to do that for ourselves, and then we just need to push our light out. That's kind of
yeah.
my vibe with it.
Right, and that's important, because to me, I am a collaborator with all those around me. And my body is in partnership with me. So my body is not a vehicle, is actually a vessel, right? So there's this continuity between me and my body. And so the emotions and the feelings and the vibrations and all of that, it's all in tune. And if we can just relax and stop worrying about whether we are synchronized or not in tune, or just be who we are at that moment, and not come forth A, to judge us, or B, to judge anyone else, then everything happens for a catalyst, and the universe knows That's the thing. It's the universe knows. So we don't have to question why or how am I supposed to do this or that. It will happen. So most of the time I'm not interacting in a very forward motion. I'm just gonna be me, and the light that shines in me, it's going to radiate. I don't have to do anything. It happens. Sometimes I am called to be more focused in the direction or the situation. I've also done that. So it's just being in the know and the intuition of what's going on in you so that you don't suppress it, but you don't judge yourself either when it does come forth.
So
That's basically.
I want to continue. I love this. I love this conversation about emotions. I want to continue to move, but I want to move it more into now manifestation, because you told me a really good story about this idea you have, but then your ego started to sloppy manifest it with all of your kind of diluting thoughts about how you can't do this, you can't get there, you can't. I need to do all this, and so kind of take somebody through a process of being inspired about an idea, and then all the ways an empath or a light worker kind of cuts ourselves off at the energetic knees, because when we start going at it with our egos instead of going at it with love and light from a higher perspective.
Right. Well, see, that situation in and of itself was me feeling it and living it, but it was actually me filtering what the collective, because that is not me. That is not part of my character, my personality, to be limiting to myself and to be questioning the power that is within me. I'm usually the person that is going full-fledged forward and allowing the universe to figure that out for me. I'm just gonna come in agreement. You guys figure it out. So I have this amazing um oh my gosh, it was sometime last year that I saw a documentary, and that documentary led me into an idea of what I can do for children. And it is huge when I look at it in my natural senses. Holy the heck, how am I going to do this? But I was excited. And if I'm excited, then it is definitely a God given, universe given idea. As I progress through that, I just leave it alone. I just know that it's going to be what it's going to be. Well, sometime in the last couple of weeks, I began to like feel that I don't know how the hell I'm gonna do it. I don't think I want to do it. And I began to limit myself, limit my supply, limit the possibilities, limit the rendezvous that I'm usually believing on. I just pretty much said, you know what, I don't think I want to do that no more. And I just wanted to go into my little shell and deny the fact that that is a desire in me. Now, this week, I burst back again into my normal self, and all that desire and intuition and amazement about the possibilities came forth. And now I'm like, wait, what was that all about? That was just, again, the collective, the universe telling me this is how this planet is feeling. They're feeling limited. They're feeling the potential for income, because they're believing the stories that they're hearing from the media, from others, including the people around them, because there's so many people who have brought on now into these are difficult times, or these are challenging times. I want somebody to tell me when, what day, what year it was not a challenging day or year. It is part of our humanity to be challenged, because that brings forth our creative juices
We've lost
and
our
it throws
humanity
us
because we've
into
lost our ability
evolution.
to be in touch with our emotions. This is why this conversation is perfect, is we've lost our humanity because we've lost our ability to be in touch with our emotions. And when we're in touch with them, then we judge them.
Mhm. Well, it is an acceptance, right? Because we always feeling, so we're always tapping into the emotions. What we have not been given is the understanding of how to decipher those emotions. What those emotions actually, we have been told to be emotional is a bad thing. God forbid I'm a woman and I'm emotional, or God forbid you're a man and you're emotional, because that's not the way it's supposed to be. It has evolved. There is a lot more consciousness, awareness now, and being emotional intelligence is a thing now, correct? Nonetheless, it is to our advantage to know thyself, know you, know your emotions, know why you feel that way, so that when you're not feeling that way, you can say, wow, that's not really like me. So what else is going on? And if you're an empath, more than likely, you're just filtering and sifting through the collective emotions, which is a beautiful thing to do. Otherwise, it will explode. I feel like people, this is why you see people being explosive, doing things that are not human like, to each other, because It's too much. It's like a pressure cooker just about to explode. And we who know how to allow ourselves for the universe to use us then can bring down that pressure. So it's very important for us to know who we are.
So I think something big I'm learning is grounding. Grounding is very, very important. I forget a lot of times. For me, visualization techniques are the best. Uh, if I forget to put on the armor of God in the morning, I'm drained by the end of the day. But if I visualize myself putting on the armor of God in the way I do, it tends to protect my energy throughout the day. So I know you're big on grounding. We both love energy crystals. We love essential oils. We eat very healthy. Um, Being that you're an indigo, being that you've been on this planet a lot longer than I have, how have you been able to ground? And you're very emotional. I'm very emotional too. I think that's why we relate so well. How have you been able to ground your emotions before the Great Awakening, before even say the Great, where was that, in 1988, when you had the Great Conjunct or something? Something happened in
Mhm.
1988 where there was like unifying between fields. How have you been able to ground yourself in your emotions throughout your life, and still maintain such a youthful appearance, such a light, such a brightness about you? Because I think that's what happens with a lot of empaths is we're neurotics for the most part, so we turn ourselves in on ourselves, and we turn that pain and that anger and that self-destruction in, and our bodies react to that, and that's why we look like hybrid versions of themselves. You know what I'm saying? So how have you been able to keep your vehicle and your temple clear of all these stuck emotions that cause decay, disease, stress, and aging, and all that other hoopla?
I don't think that it was done in a knowing, like I didn't know. I look back now, and hindsight is 2020, and it is me understanding the beauty of my journey, how everything I needed was given to me at the time that I needed it. And even when I thought that I would not survive the things that I have gone through, I have been able to go beyond it by the awareness that I keep being added on. So it's my guides, my universe, who actually have done an amazing job of watching over me. And that's the beauty that I want to give to everybody, because some people say, well, how do you look young? I think it's because I embody that idea that there is beauty in everyone. So then I radiate that vibration.
I believe that.
In and of itself, aesthetically, I don't really count beauty. You understand? I think that there's a brilliance in all of us. And when we are in lower vibrations, that brilliance is opaque. And so what you reflect is not as appealing, right? Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, which is a whole different thing, because again, we have been taught
Well, beauty's
to
also a
cover
vibration and a
ourselves.
resonance, you know?
Well, we have been taught to cover ourselves with so much.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with makeup, nothing wrong with clothes, nothing wrong with those things, because those are all amazing ideas and creative moments that someone came forth, right? What I believe is, what's the reason that you do it? Why do you
Yes.
wear makeup? Why do you wear that clothing? Why do you walk that way, speak that way? Is that your natural essence, or are you forcing something that is not of you? So I have always been devoted to myself. I think that's the key thing. I have learned to love myself more and more, appreciate this amazing moment that I live in. But I have come to the point where I don't even believe in evil. So that also is transformative,
It's
right?
true.
Because there is nothing that can be against me. I mean, who can be against you when the whole universe is for you?
Yep.
There is no
Especially when you
against.
know your sovereignty, when you know you're a sovereign being, when you know that you are a fractal of God living a human experience, and that this is all finite, but you're infinite, it all
Mhm.
opens up. So how have you been able to balance? Because I know something big that I've been noticing lately is spiritual narcissists in our community, where it's narcissists claiming to be spiritually heightened. They know a lot, but in reality, they're narcissists feeding off of the light of the empathic light worker community. You've had a crazy journey of through your spirit, through different teachings and through different denominations and things like that. How have you been able to skirt spiritual narcissists, and what are you seeing happening in 2021 with spiritual narcissism, with spiritual ego, and people pretending that they're one thing when in reality they're another, and they're unconscious of it.
Mhm. My understanding to that again is that it serves a purpose.
True.
Everything serves a purpose. So I have had my experience with narcissistic. Most empaths attract some type of energy that way. When the empath is not in tune with themselves, then they tune in with like the other side of it, the darkness side of it, and that kind of is the narcissistic nature
So
that approaches you.
give a little example for the women out there that are not where you're at yet, who are at the beginning of this awakening, who are empaths, who are light workers, who want to do this stuff, but who keep finding themselves being taken advantage of by narcissists and by from people that just take and don't reciprocate.
So I'm gonna speak to men and women because I do know that they are narcissistic women just as much as they are
More so now than
females.
ever.
They are. So it is when you make a decision that you are a priority. So someone cannot take advantage of you unless you give yourself or give them the opportunity to. So one of the things I evolved into understanding is that I was just as responsible for that experience as much as the person was. I don't justify the individual. The individual is who he is. I wouldn't suggest anybody go approach a narcissist to try to evolve themselves to make, you know what I'm saying? Let me go have that experience. No, it is not, it was painful to where it was one of the catalysts that kind of broke me because I had to question myself because in the 24-year relationship, I had lost myself, but I didn't even know it. You don't even know that you have lost yourself until you go through that painful experience and then you're like, oh holy crap, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I can't blame the individual. You understand? In the beginning, yes, I went through all that blaming, I went through all that emotional breakdown, I went through the evolution of first knowing, being upset, being depressed, being angry, you know, just like all the evolution that it takes for someone to come into their own. And now it has, I have finally come into my own. And that individual didn't just disappear of my life, unfortunately, because it's the parent of my children. So how much harder is that? Because for some people, they can walk away from a narcissist and call it a day. But I was not handed that card. And in the beginning, I fought that because I'm like, I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. It wouldn't go away. So now I'm in a better place. I have finally accepted that I don't need it to go away in order to be happy. I don't need it to go away in order to to come into my own greatness and amazingness. They are of no consequence because I'm the one who really matters and who really counts. So for those people who are in there, I have a lot of compassion for you. Just know that you will come out of it. You are destined to come out of it, and nothing goes to waste. So, this too will be utilized by the universe to strengthen you and bring you forth into your greatness.
Okay, so let's finish this conversation with your depiction and your idea of how you yourself are going to use your emotions as your superpowers moving forward, and also explain a little bit of the last month of what you learned about what's yours and what isn't, and how to kind of not own everybody else's emotions and feelings and kind of run with it because it is a superpower.
To not own someone else's feelings.
Yeah.
I have allowed for people to be who they are and not had this desire like before to change them, to help them evolve, you know, to work my magic on them because I can be that person that can create that for them. No, if it's meant to be, it will be. If I am to be used in their evolution, that's the universe choice, not mine necessarily. So I have learned to appreciate even the narcissist for who he is. I have learned to appreciate the matrix for what it is. I no longer have to butt heads and make demands and changes because the matrix is always going to be the matrix, the narcissist is always going to be the narcissist. So at this point, your vision, your light, my focus is in me, what I want to achieve and what I can move forward by the next logical step. And it always happens. So there's no need to be concerned or be afraid that you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be stuck. The fact that anybody's listening to thee or desiring to know more means they are on the path to awareness.
I agree with that, because my big thing is when I realize that when we start judging our circumstance or situation because it's not what we want it to be, and we start saying should and it should be this way, and why is that? This doesn't make sense to me. And this person, why is this person? We have to put the onus of awareness on us and have an understanding or an understanding that most people are completely unconscious. And I call these people non-player characters. So at the beginning of 2020, Yeshua came to me and he was talking to me about Earth and humans and humanity. And I asked him, I was like, is every human real? I feel like some people just aren't real. He's like, no, man, NPCs. I was like, NPCs? He's like, yeah, NPCs, man. And because I played video games growing up, an NPC in a role-playing game would be a non-player character. So it'd be like the shopkeeper you go up to get a quest from. And in reality, you start thinking, those are, and then 12 months later, it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a better understanding of what NPC meant. And NPC meant is somebody who doesn't yet have their beingness, who is not yet aware, who is not yet awakened. And so they're going through the motions of life being that non-player character because they're not actually in their heart, they're in their head, and they're in their black mirror, and they're in their distraction and coping mechanisms. And that is how we start seeing people treat each other really horribly. So we need to be
But
able
they're critical.
But they're critical because they're also helping us
Yeah.
grow. And at the same time,
Right.
they're also helping us gain that awareness, because we need to be aware that we are the ones that see everything and that most people don't see anything. And if we're going to compare and contrast ourselves to them, we're always going to put ourselves on a lower pedestal, and we're always going to be looking up, reaching for straws. So how have you
Right.
been able to keep yourself on the same playing field as everybody, never putting someone above you, never putting someone below you, so that you're keeping your emotional well-being as stable as possible? We'll end with that.
Just that knowing that everyone is worthy of who they are. That's just because they are not consciously aware of what their role is at the moment, doesn't mean that it's not integral. It is very integral. You are the creator. You created that. You are the programmer. So you program that, like that lady in red that in the Matrix, right? You program it. And I tell people, I don't really care for evil or processing those things. Therefore, I do speak the language of other people, and I tell them, if you believe in evil, even Satan played its role, right? If you understand the Matrix, even that main guy who kept coming against um, Neo was critical for him to understand and become aware that he was the one, right? And that's
I even use that as a term. I call people, when people attack you in the Matrix, I call it being Mr. Smith, because Mr. Smith always defends the Matrix, even if it's your best friend, even if it's your spouse. When you're asleep, you will always defend the Matrix because it's your comfort and it's your security. Perception only.
I mean, and still having compassion for that. I think people even kind of like Mr. Smith at the end. you know, we kind
Without
of
him, we wouldn't have a trilogy. You know what I'm saying?
we hated him and loved him at the same time because he was relentless.
Absolutely.
And so just not judging the moment. Don't judge that moment. That moment so easily passes. I just had someone transition in my family, and I've had a couple of people transition in the last 4 years in my lifetime. Critical, important people to me. So that has caused me also to look at what I have now and understand permanence. I have questioned permanence like crazy, and you could really go into a spiral, understanding that you're just but a wisp.
It's an
You're
impermanent.
just
It's
but a
everything's
flicker.
the law of impermanence. Like, it's literally a universal
We
law.
want to, and that's a whole conversation we can have, but
Yeah,
we
we'll go
so
next.
want to be validated by the memories that we leave behind. But can you ask yourself, what if you don't leave any? I mean, you will be forgotten. You will be forgotten. And that's okay. That's okay.
But you
There's
won't
nothing
forget
wrong with
yourself. That's
that.
the key. That's why
Because
it's
after
through
so
us.
many generations, I forgot what the statistic is, but after so many generations, right? My great, 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 great grandchildren, I'm not even gonna, they know there's a grandmother somewhere, but they don't know me. They never interacted with me. They don't understand what I brought into that family dynamics, and
And that's
that's
why
all.
transmuting your own stuff is so important, because all you can leave your future generations is with less trauma than you had to work
I just
through.
think we create so much suffering You see what I'm saying? So
So
that's the idea.
that was such a wonderful conversation about emotions. I really appreciate you coming on to Ascension Files episode 1. It's my friend Mimi Mendez. She's an amazing
Woo!
spirit, a
Number
light
one.
worker. She's an entrepreneur, a writer, editor, all these amazing things. But in reality, she's just my really
I'm
good
all
friend.
things to all people.
Yep, she's my really good friend, and I wouldn't be where I am on my journey without her. So I'm glad we got to finally
Thank
get
you, Adam.
on. We had an amazing conversation that wasn't
It's
messed
much
up.
appreciated.
And so
I love
seriously,
you.
thank you so much. I love you too. I really appreciate you. Let's do this more frequently because we could talk about anything. You know what I'm saying? So 30-minute conversations once a week. I think it'd be awesome. So
Jump in and jump out.
whenever you're inspired, let me know. I love you.
That's right. All right. Namaste.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.